We're live now on YouTube. So, Dodd, thanks for coming on. And of course, we've got Gord here to talk about Caulfield on Saturday. They have stuck the rail out again. So, I think the meeting prior to our Caulfield preview 3 weeks ago was in the 7 metre position. We went back into the true on that occasion. And meanwhile, we've gone out to 6 metres this time. So, Dave, what does that, how does that affect the track this Saturday?
Well, I'm anticipating a bit of rain between now and race day, so I think we're playing with a soft track. It's currently a soft 5. I expect it to get to a 6 or a 7 come race day. Rail out 6, there's a strong northerly on the day as well, 25k. So I'm saying you want to be off the rails, maybe preferably, and make strong horses preferred. I think you're going to be able to make ground over the distance races.
All right, so that's we're lucky to have you for this meeting because obviously there's a strong data set that, or a deep data set that you've got access to give us that intel. So you're happy to back run-on horses on Saturday. That's basically what you're saying.
The northerly, I'm not sure now, but I think the northerly blows in their face like straight out of the chutes, the 1200 meter and 1100 meter chutes. So yep. I just think you're going to want cover similar to like what it was 3 weeks ago or whatever.
Okay. All right, Gord, how does this card look to you?
Absolutely fat if we don't get rain.
Well, you say don't get rain. I mean, I've got my Norwegian
yes.
weather hat on, and so there's been a small amount of rain. There will be a small amount of rain through the next couple of days, but nothing significant.
Well, I was thinking there might be something on day, Mark, and I'm always scared rain on day. You got to make
more scared in Sydney, Melbourne, because it's honestly Melbourne is just rock hard underneath. So you do need a lot of rain in Melbourne.
Well, a couple of my mates have gone down there to play in some pretty big stakes gambling stuff down in Melbourne, and they let me know that the weather is shit down here, Gordo. So, but Dodd's there. So
I was lying in bed last night listening to the rain, Gordo, and I'm on track on Saturday. Actually, I've got the weekend off work, so I'll be going to Caulfield on Saturday. So I'll send you a text if I see any drips of rain.
Post it in the chat room. I'll see it.
Yeah,
that'd be great.
I'll let you know.
Yeah.
You might even get Melbourne Mountain Yard Mail if you play your cards right.
Gets better and better, doesn't it? All right, so we've had our weather forecast and our rail preview. Now, the first race is a steady opener. It's a 2,000 metre midway, shall we say. And does anyone want to say anything about this? Off air, you said to me, Dave, that Head of State was hard in the market, which seemed odd because it's come back. Well, I know it's the reigning gloaming stakes winner, but man, it has been hopeless the last 12 months.
Yeah, and I remember the race after the gloaming, I sort of found it against Profondo, and the market told me I was completely wrong, and I got my just desserts right there. Yeah, all I can say, I haven't really looked at this race, but all I can say is more than half the money Sportsbet is holding is on the number 3, Fingerada, which
it comes off a load of Sandown wins, which I actually looked up the Sandown to Saturday stuff, and it works. It's not hopeless as a group. There's one horse that I sort of had a small amount of interest in based on nothing really other than its second up. That's French Moon, which does have a big fat SP over the favourite Fingerada once upon a time. It's only just the one run back in that Moonee Valley race. Obviously, Global Gift emerges from that race, the pounding race a fortnight back, and French Moon didn't do much, but was first up on that occasion, going up to 2,000, might jump up. Gord, I'm not even going to ask you about race 1. Race 2 is the 1,000 metre 3-year-old race, which sees the return of the Inglis winner, the Sydney Inglis winner, from the 2-year-old season. And it's currently the 9-4 favourite in the race. There are a few other interesting 3-year-olds over this short course. Gord, any interest here?
Yeah, I have to bet. Now, yet again, I think I've a broken record when I'm talking about previewing these 3-year-olds these days, and you don't know whether they've come back or not. And we've actually seen the primary form from 2-year-old season not standing up as 3-year-olds. Saying that, Mark, I always had a massive opinion of Extravagant Star, and at least it didn't run in the slipper. I think that's probably a positive for this horse. If it gets back to that, like what it did at Geelong was sensational. And we know provincial Melbourne form does stand up metropolitan Melbourne.
So what, you're going back prior to the Sydney run? Why are you doing that?
Well, because I'm going to totally forgive the last run at Randwick because it was on officially a 10, guys, off my stuff, an 11.1. The horse is, for me, good horses have more trouble on really bog tracks than they do on better tracks. And even if it does get, as does suggest, to a slow 7, that's a hell of a lot better than an 11.1. And it's 2 previous victories before that. The figures would just own this field. We're looking at stuff coming from New South Wales, which obviously I know a lot more, and there's nothing super dynamic there at all. So the horse just has to... It's weird because normally you want a progression from a 2-year-old to a 3-year-old. It could actually do what it did as a 2-year-old and win this race if the track's better. So it's just an auto bet for me. I stamp a horse like this 6-4, and I take anything over $2.50.
All right, so you're mad keen on 6 Extravagant Star. Which,
I can't be mad keen, Mark. I can't be mad keen. I'm mad keen and on a few later on. But,
all right, so you're semi-keen.
It's an auto bet.
Gordo, what about Kin coming from the Newcastle race when it ran down Dashing Legends? Looked to find the line pretty strongly that day.
And I think Mark mentioned the other day that we were looking for Dashing Legend to do something to frank that Kin form, and it did. Dashing Legend came out and ran a really good race. So, yeah, that has been franked, and you're getting double figures about that one rather than the shorty about Extravagant Star. It's still ultimate B grade. The weird thing is B grade 3-year-old is actually standing up against A grade 2-year-old, and you've got to make that decision.
Well, it often does. So, I mean, Extravagant Star was quite dynamic in a funny race, that sales race. And, Paris Dior, emerged as favourite in that race off the Canterbury win, and sort of sat 3 deep with cover sort of mid-back. This horse raced on the speed and got a break on it and held it off comfortably. Look, it's a really interesting runner, Extravagant Star. Dodd, have you got any opinion of this race?
I think Kin was nominated last week, and it was
it was scratched. Yeah, you were scratched out of the spacewalk on a notches race.
When a horse is
as was Cannonball.
When a horse is backed and scratched, we get emails in work. So whoever's trading the meeting will send an email around, just in case someone else gets a hold of the horse in one of their races. So yeah, I'm anticipating Kin will shorten from what it is currently. I think it's like $9 or something, is it?
Yep. Well, yeah. I'll write down $12, but
$10. Yeah, it's $10, $13 out there. So yeah, I think it'll start single figures and run a race.
All right, but yeah, look, 1,000-metre race. It's a bit up in the air. But Gord is all semi over the favourite there. Race.
There's question marks, Mark, but it's just a bet. You know what I mean? I really do think this wins 1 every 2.2 times.
Okay. Race 3 is the Mares race, where we're not sure whether Catalan's going to the Tibby at Newcastle tomorrow or down to Caulfield to take on the biggies, Saigon and Co. And currently she's $3 in the Caulfield race. Dodd, do you have any activity on Catalan to suggest where she might go?
No activity in either race, actually, Mark. So I think whatever race she's in, she's going to drift.
Right, okay. Gord, there's 2 girlfriends here, although the 7-year-old with the lippy, as Glenn describes Catalan, is very prominent in the market there. Are you looking at race 3 with interest or not?
No, not really, because I don't know how to line up Catalan, the very old lady with the Botox and the lippy. I'll add Botox in there too, Mark.
She did run at Wyong, home of the Botox.
Yes. And the weird thing was that was actually a better run than people realise. I know I got knocked off by Meg, but it wasn't balanced and was a sitting duck. and got run down by Meg, to my detriment, obviously. Saying that, it's never a bet around this price range in this race for me. But then the only one I go looking for is sort of like we're going to say Sagon's a horse I'm always looking to back around a certain price range. And if Catlin comes out, it's, you know how the corpse these days, and Dodd, maybe you can, if you're allowed to, or if you want to, I've noticed that when the favourite comes out, it seems to all get stuck into the second favourite. It's not just a normal percentage change for every horse. Is that true?
It's like a sliding scale.
No, that's an urban myth.
Well, I also do notice in collating the early Sydney prices, the early Melbourne prices, that the early Melbourne prices, best of, tend to be around 115, 116, and the Sydney prices are 120, 121. Obviously reflecting the higher taxes in this particular jurisdiction.
I could spend an hour talking about the new RV deductions and how incorrect they are.
Well, hopefully you'd be thoroughly entertaining in your hour-long discourse. Dodd, is there any mare that you want to mention here before we move on?
No.
Adela Moore, I did notice, and this is a fairly twee observation, but Adela Moore is resuming in this race. Doesn't necessarily have crossovers with the others. Obviously, Saigon did actually get touched off by Ocean Miss in their lead up on this course, the slowly one, like the correct lead up. But Adele misses 3 from 3 at the 1400, resuming at the 1400 here. Adela Moore, sorry, I'm talking about. But Alana Kelly, Gate 1 doesn't float my boat there. All right, race.
One more thing there, Mark, and that is, like, we've got a fair amount of data for Saigon dropping off second up, which is why I was so keen on it first up. There's a pretty significant pattern there, but nothing went right first up, so I think we can maybe level out that figure a little bit. It's a race I should be betting in, Mark, but I'm not. So anyway.
It is confusing. Race 4 is the battle of the, well, we're going to call them New South Wales 3-year-olds, although Aft Cabins had 3 runs. Its last 2 down in Vic, and it's 6-4, and Aussie Penco's 3-1. They dominate the betting here, but it does look to be a walking race. Dodd, have you got an opinion here?
Yeah, there's dead set no speed in the race. Like, Zamborghini sort of led his first 2 runs and then was dragged back to last on his resumption the other day, and there's no other leaders in the race. So it's a very tricky race, and I suppose the trickiest part of it is you're trying to wonder who's actually trying here, because obviously grand final day is the Caulfield Guineas and this is just the Prelude. So yeah, I don't know. I'm not a race I'm keen to bet into.
I sort of imagine that Aussie Penco, who's fresh and does have some pace, would just work through there and hold the lead if necessary. Gord, are you staking this race?
Well, I can't, because the horse that I'm probably going to have a small investment on is number 2, Aft Cabin, and it's got 2 key negatives for me, which is 4th up first preparation and 4th upcoming, which are 2 negatives for me. Saying that, I thought there was a lot more merit to its run last start than people realise. It's a good horse, man, and the stuff that it did the start before is definitely good enough to win this. Saying that, I have an opinion of Osipenko, and I'm waiting for it to do something, but I think Dodd was intimating there, is it its grand final or not? I don't think it needs to be its grand final, Dodd, because it's only got to beat 1 horse, which is Aft Cabin.
What about this Japanese Emperor, which
I see it's got this massive number at its last start, whatever that means. It bloused home at Sandown at its only start, but obviously it comes into a race of negative tempo, as in, they managed to get along better than average in that 1200, and here they're all jumping out and looking at each other.
They back this lethal Fox, this Kieran Maher horse, every time it goes around with us. Like, we always have massive liabilities on this horse, and I actually didn't think it was too bad resuming at Rose Hill there in the Group 3. So I think it's looking for a trip. 1400 is probably not enough. I think this horse would be better over a mile and further. I think it's a So You Think. So Yeah, it's probably a horse for the future that I'd keep an eye on. Maybe third up in the prep. It's one I'm
Yeah,
sort
but
of looking.
the form lines have been they've been badly exposed, haven't they? The JJ Atkins has got no guts, and the Brosnan form is
Yeah, horrific.
not there either. So anyway,
Okay, thanks for clarifying everything for me, guys, because Ask Cabin is immoral. There you go.
well, it is one of my pet hates, horses coming back in distance like it did, and everyone will look at it and go, well, Jamie Carr, she positioned it perfectly, she got out at the right time, and she got owned by Jacquinot. But of course, coming back from 14 to 12, you are lacking that dash.
Margin to the
time.
third horse. If it had been Jamie Carr off for D Lane on, I'd go close to taking any price.
Right, that's the boys. The girls is race 5, and the sees out the pre-quaddy races. So this looks opaque. I say that because the unknown Kiwi, bracket in brackets Baker Kiwi, is marked up as equal favourite with Boogie Dancer, which didn't exactly set the lead up a light there, the Troach race, where it finished 6th of 9, beaten 3. Any intel here, Dodd?
No, this is the one race I just hard avoided. Nothing like I hate all these horses equally, so I'm going to skip this race, and I'm tuned into the last 4 races.
All right, and Gord, did anything excite you in any small way here?
Of course, there was one excitement horse, Mark, and we had this discussion when we were reviewing the Randwick meeting.
Yeah,
and that is how much of a tick do you give to a horse that wasn't in the right part of the track on that occasion? Yeah. And I said I like it to finish within a certain margin of the win.
We're talking about Seven Veils.
I'm talking about Seven Veils, guys.
Yep.
It's had all excuses its first 2 starts this preparation. Our mounting yard guy, Glenn Pollett, reckons it's a sensational type. But if it had finished 5 lengths off, Mark, I would be unloading on this at $15.
Yeah, it is an acceptor for Randwick, so we don't actually know where it's going either.
It's been scratched at Caulfield.
Right.
It's been scratched?
So Dodd, our man on the ground. He's got his ear right down there.
Okay,
Perfect.
Well, there's another one I'll ask you about, Dodd, because I know she was a girlfriend of mine first preparation, but you've dropped off her by the sounds of things, because I thought you were forgiving Revolutionary Miss, but you've dropped off now.
Yeah, I forgave it the other day, but now Joy McNeil and third up now. I was forgiving after one. I like the back horse to second up, because I always think there's massive improvement from first to second up, and sometimes the market can miss that.
Sometimes it can, but I'm looking at it with 2 runs at Caulfield, Dodd, that you would love to have in your CV.
Yeah, and it's Blinker's
They're
first
sensational
time,
runs. If the horse is back, it'll just win this race. But I don't think it is. I'm agreeing with Dodd. What are you saying, Mark? Are you forgiving?
I'm saying the race is a dog's breakfast. And then it went up and down, well, briefly, and nothing appeared.
Well, we have to talk about 11 too, Mark, because we've got more of a gauge on Sumatra than some others might have. I wasn't seeing it, even though I went looking for it. So, what about you?
Not at all. It's been to Hawkesbury. That doesn't give me any clue.
I told you, Mark, Hawkesbury can go to Melbourne Metropolitan and win.
No.
That happened once with Kalos, and everyone else is just hanging off those fucking coattails.
By the way, we don't have a lot of data there, Dodd, but the weird thing is about that one is that I actually do have a reasonable opinion of Glint of Silver as being like a reasonable horse, and Sumatra did beat it.
Horrible race. Let's move on.
Yeah, okay. Right, so race 1 the first leg of the quaddie is the 2,000 metre race, and do we have any clue which 2,000 metre race Gold Trip is going to contest? Because of course it's in the like for like race at Randwick, late in the card there. It's 5.50 in this particular race. I know that Gord is going to have certainly a narrative about Gold Trip, because he's had plenty to say about the horse in the past. Otherwise, this race gets fed from the 1,700 at Caulfield 3 weeks back. Throw in Uncle Bryn from the Weird Mile there, won by Military Expert 2 weeks back at Moonee Valley. Funny old race. Dodd, where's Gold Trip going?
I would say it's running at Caulfield if I was to guess. There's a lot of turnover on the horse at Caulfield and not a lot at Randwick.
All right, and well, I'll just have a look at the map firstly because that could be key. It presents as a bit of a doddle. I mean, there's, pardon the pun, there's Earlswood to come over from the deep perhaps. The Amazonian seems to posse up. Grand Promenade and Smoking Romans from out wide. Doesn't look to be a lot happening pace-wise.
I would say Earlswood from the wide has to go forward. Elephant has to go forward up and trip. And maybe Grand Promenade. It's first up, but it wouldn't want to give away the good gate. So maybe it'll just sit in behind them. And and Smoking Romans from the wide barrier might go forward as well.
But still, it's a bit steady, isn't it?
Yeah, very steady, very steady. I have a very slow tempo here, but I think it's a good race. I think there's plenty of myths in here, and I think it's a good race to bet into as well.
All right, well, the floor is yours before you shout it down later.
I found Gold Trip. I'll talk about the horses in the market and just give my opinion on them. Gold Trip looks a nice horse. Ran through the line over 1,500 at Rose Hill, but with the weight, the 60 kilos here, on our stuff, he has to do a Group 1 figure, like a genuine Group 1 figure to just do the job here. So I feel like
but he is potentially one of those horses, but are you suggesting that he wouldn't be in that space right now? He's just prepping.
Yeah, I don't think he's ready to do it just yet. Like, he's had 49 days off. He's going to be dragged back in a slow tempo. I just can't see him doing the big Group 1 figure here. But he's bang right in the market, which is great. And I think Sportsbet, with the way we do our form with weights and measures, these group handicap races are our bread and butter, and it's where we sort of have an edge, I reckon.
Yep.
So I'm happy to take on Gold Trip. I think Earlswood will definitely improve from the first up run the other day. He was catastrophic behind Mr. Brightside. And the tempo, and finally gets up to 2,000, which is where all his overseas form was. It was 2,000, 2,400. So he's got a good figure over the mile, and I wouldn't rule him out at an each way price at like $16, $17.
But is he allowed to get beaten as far as 7 in that walking race the other day? It's a sprint home, right? It's just a dash home. You know, is it?
You just forgive it because the race configuration's all against him. I think it's just.
Right, so that would suggest that he's actually going to roll the race along. Okay, so he's one paced. That was too slick for him. It was a higher grade race over a mile with a dash home. He needs to sort of get into his gear. I presume that he's going to give himself the opportunity in that fashion. Yeah,
like he started 650 the other day in a Group 2. He drops to a Group 3 here, and he has a run under his belt, and he gets a sexy enough map. So I'd be saying...
And he's $17.
Yeah, he's probably too. That's what I mean. I think he's probably too big at 17. And then I'm happy to be against. Who else is in the market? Like Uncle Brian. I think this is a nice horse going forward, but he's way too short in the market at 480 or 460 or whatever. He's way up in grade here. I think he will improve out to this distance because he's a Seed of Star horse that looks like he wants a bit of ground. Like he was strong through the line at Sale over 1,700 a few months ago, and looking like he wants ground. But the two bets here for me, anyway, I'll stop annoying, is number 8, Crystal Pegasus. This horse was airborne before it went for the Sydney Cup.
Yep.
Yeah, he was winning by 5 lengths, starting even money in group races. They were over 2,500 at Flemington, but he was completely airborne. And the return in the Group 2 the other day, I thought he ran really well, and he was strong through the line. They cut to the owners instead of cutting them, so you couldn't actually see them through the line because they cut straight to the owners.
Yeah, I hate that.
Fucking annoying. Yeah. But I think this horse was the one that was going to be starting to power through the line. So up to 2,000 suits, and I think he's a good chance at double figure price. I think it's $12, $13. I think he'll start single figures and be in the finish.
All right, that's enough from you, is it?
And the other roughie I like is the Amazonian down the bottom. Doesn't look a big figure, his returning figure over the mile the other day, but he was really strong through the line and up to 2,000 suits. And he was just starting to put it together at the end of last prep. He only had 3 runs in the prep. So he drops, he gets a good gate here. He has the run under the belt.
She.
Sorry.
Yeah, okay, but she looks a long way behind Uncle Brian.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that.
All right. Okay, well, up to 2,000, maybe that's the difference. I should have mentioned the market earlier. It's Gold Trip 550, Uncle Brian 550, Emissary, which won the 1,700 metre lead up, $6, Smoking Romans at $9, and the horses you mentioned, Crystal Pegasus, $13, and the Amazonian, $34. Gord, are we giving you a leave pass here?
Are you kidding me? Is that a joke? Seriously? As if I'm not in love with this race.
All right, we'll go. Yeah, okay.
There's only 2 chances. All those people that are trying to get super smart about mapping all that shit and finding all this weird stuff like that, this is just bullshit, man. Number 1 Gold Trip is just an auto bet. That was a sensational start to career. It went in the black book on that. It's got upside off that. I don't even mind the 7 weeks off. I love Zara. He's one of my favourite jockeys in Melbourne. Marin uses Zara. Just absolutely beautiful connections. And it'll need to be a Group 1 horse. Yes, it is a Group 1 horse, Dodd. Have you seen the stuff in France? It's pretty bloody solid, mate. Like, seriously. When horses come to Australia and do that, I'm super keen because now's the time to get on. And I notice Top Odds is a bookmaker that I have very little respect for as well, which is another big tick for me to maybe open up a new account. Saying that, I'm going to back 2 horses in the race, and the other one is number 8, Crystal Pegasus. Is this just an auto at $14? Like, it had all excuses last start. It did some beautiful stuff last preparation. It has a history of actually improvement, first up to second up. Just easy, man. One of the 2 wins, and I'm betting into, 27.5%? Like, yeah, just bet. Does that show how keen I am, Mark? Or
It
not?
does.
Gordo,
So,
are you potting the Caulfield lead up then as well?
Yes, I think it's rubbish.
Me too.
well, it was not, what was a somewhat opaque race. Emissary obviously won it first up, which you would think 17 to 2,000 same course, Dodd, you would have some interest in, but you've decided to look away. Gordo, which race would you rather it in, Gold Trip? This
one, 100% this one. There's a chance I don't even back it in the Sydney race.
All right, let's get to the main event.
By the way, we're not supposed to reveal stuff like that on a Thursday, Mark. Well, it's supposed to be for Friday afternoon.
Well, yeah, okay, but it's just one one little teaser, shall we say. So, can we have some quaddie numbers, some consensus quaddie numbers?
Oh, yeah.
So, it looks like 1 and 8 are gimmies, Gold Trip and Crystal Pegasus.
No, Mark, I want you to say something about Crystal Pegasus.
Oh, I don't need to add it because you've both said it. You know, obviously it was one.
No. But what do you think?
It was a horse that I would have in my bracket in this race.
Okay.
At worst. So I like what Dodd says about Earlswood because it's the sort of horse I would actually go looking for here. Whilst it was spaced the other day, and I don't have a huge opinion of that team, but going up to 2,000, it's going to have something to offer here, so I would include it. So 1 Gold Trip, 2 Earlswood, 8 Crystal Pegasus. Do we make room for Dodd's Ruffy, 15 the Amazonian Gord?
No.
All right. So and anything to? Is there a footnote on that race at all, Dodd, in terms of quaddies?
No, I think you've nailed the numbers. Happy to be against Uncle Bryn at the price. Emissary, whatever it's called, that won the lead up. Apparently in the yard, it was like ready to rock and roll on first up. So,
all right. So you're okay. You get mounting out information on this show as well. Race 7 is I'm going to call it the Vic Health Cup. I don't know what it's called these days. It used to be the Marlborough Cup. When I was first into racing, it was traditionally a smokers
Mark,
race.
that was when the girls used to wander around the ring handing out free cigarettes. Yeah. I think that's a little while ago.
All right, I Wish I Win, which is a moody ex-Kiwi that turned up at course and distance and put a space in them. First up 3 weeks ago, is the third emergency? The second emergency. Dodd, any suggestion as to whether it's likely to get a run?
I have no idea, to be honest. There's been a lot of chat on Twitter about whether it gets a run, but that type of stuff doesn't interest me at all.
Right, but I suppose, the punters that are hoeing in there are safe in the knowledge that if it doesn't start, they get their money back.
Exactly.
So
Well, obviously, I did the form on it. I'm not GP where I just treat it as a scratching.
Well, he did the fourth emergency the other day, so I think he's learnt the error of his ways.
It depends on whether he gets excited,
Anyway, so it requires 2 scratchings to get in this race, but currently it's $4 in the full market. Ayrton, resuming off the Stradbroke, is $7.50. Tuvalu is $8. Showmanship $9, and Dragon Leap is $13. And map-wise, my stuff from Ratings to Win obviously has a few searching forward here. Call Sign Mav and Open Minded, which is unlikely to start, shall we say. Buffalo River, Tuvalu, Asar, and Age of Chivalry down on the inside. It's another emergency, so forget it. Red Can Man up in distance and on the backup is also likely to surge forward. So it does look a willing race, Dodd.
It's a gala. I love this race. Mad speed, like you've named every leader that goes forward there. 1,400 metres of Caulfield straight onto the bend. It's just going to be hell for leather because they're all coming across from wide gates, and you're just looking for the horse that gets the sweet run off them. So I thought this was a great race to do form for.
So when you say the sweet run off them, I'm always a little bit anxious about horses that are sort of drawn in the first 5, getting cut off by all sorts of things and being buried back in the field. What smokers are you looking for in this smoking race?
Yeah, so I'm gone a bit left field here, to be honest. But the horse that just jumps off the page to me, the second page, shall I say, is number 16, Shiloh. So I've always had an opinion that this horse is a Group 1 horse over 1,600 metres. It used to be trained by Archie Alexander, and it normally gets back in the run and has a big, huge, booming turn of foot. Started $9 in the Cantala back at the Spring Carnival last year. Like, it's a proper Group 1 animal, but they never got it. They never got it to its peak. Now it's gone to Mick Price, and this race just sets up so beautifully for it. Like 1,400 meters, genuine tempo, and this horse I think is just drawn to get the perfect run. Barrier 6. It's got 53, least amount of weight in the race, and I think it's going to be launching at the line when others have cried enough.
All right, so this is your blouser of choice in this race.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's a great bet. I think Sportsbet are betting $20 or something like that at the moment, which I think is way over the odds.
Right, so you're not trading this race, clearly. You better cover off on some other horses that you actually did look upon.
Yep. So I always struggle to mark Showmanship as short as the market does. Just on our data, we just can never get it that short. So he'll be suited by the way this race is run, but I just don't think he has that figure in him. And I can be proven wrong.
Well, it's a weird one because he's only had 2 runs in the last 2 years.
Yeah, I just thought a 7-year-old second up. I'm just not seeing him go to a new career peak.
So give me your opinion of. Well, firstly, give me your opinion.
How are you not saying that, Dodd? Because you equate its first up run this time in against all its other first up run, and I'm looking at an over 10-point spike.
Yeah, but he has J-Mac, and like.
Yeah, J-Mac can do that.
How much is J-Mac worth? 2 or 3 points?
Don't know, but like he beat. At the end of the day, I don't even like his form. He beat Prime Candidate. Like it's a walker.
It's flying. It was like nearly held them off the other day.
He got absolute PR, Prime Candidate.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't like that form line. It's not for me.
Anyway, so let's talk about the current favourite, which I realise is yet to get a start. But so it turns up here as an unknown horse, but with it just stank of that horse 3 weeks ago, and it puts a margin in a relatively willing 1,400 metre race first up, same course and distance. Here it is. Let's say it's running. What are you going to do with it?
I'm going to lay it. Like I'm not going to lay it, but it can win. But it can win without me because the ride was just so good the other day. Like it reminded me of I was saying to the lads in work today. It reminded me of Espiona. She just blended into the race 3 wide with cover, never ever had to change stride, and then just peeled at the top of the straight and won by 4. And it looks great, but the way that track was playing, it was the best ride. And
so it was a bit Goldilocks to use.
Yeah, I don't think the horse has any more. So you can't improve the horse. You don't need to off that figure. you can just give it the figure again and move on. But
So,
I just think,
Dot, it was Goldilocks, not safety car.
yeah,
There's a lot
I
of
just think-
fans about that expression, mate. I hope you've got some feedback.
no, I haven't got any yet. I just think that it was given the perfect ride. That's the best the horse can do, and it can only regress off that. It can't progress off it. So.
All right, Ayrton is 4 from 4 at Caulfield and 3 from 3 first up. Obviously, it presents as the would-be favourite. Should I Wish I Win not run? Where do you stand with it?
One of Sportsbet's favourite horses to lay because he just has no figures.
All right, so he's one of these horses with the fat record, probably well placed, and he's got that profile in the community because of those things, but no guts.
No, I remember they put him up favourite ahead of like fucking Zaki or something up in Queensland a few months ago. It's crazy. Like, yeah, he's just not for us anyway. But like he can win, but he'll need a new peak, and he'll need it first up. So it'll be a hell of a training performance.
All right, there is one other horse. There's 4 horses in single figures here, and Tuvalu is a horse I don't know that well, but any opinion there?
Yeah, I like this horse, but he's a leader sort of over like a mile, and
that doesn't feel very comfortable, does it?
It doesn't. There has been market support for him, and I had him marked much bigger than what the market has him. So I'm just going to go to the line with it and just say, I'm happy to be against the market on this one, and happy to lay him basically with all the speed in the race. And he's first up.
Yeah, so. It looks a classic pressure Caulfield Group 1 where it's up for grabs. Gord, what's your opinion here?
This is a rather strange one for me because I like doing races that takes me 5 minutes to do. And there's just an obvious bet. I spent over an hour on this race, and guess what, Dodd? I enjoyed every minute of it. So normally
he's becoming a convert.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. This is one of those.
This is the wedge, Gord. This is the wedge.
There's so many angles. If I start growing myself up like you, Mark, well, I'll never have a bet again. Wow, what a race, man. This is the race of like the spring so far. There's so many different betting angles. Like I was going down at the end, at certain stages, I'd suggest that I was going to actually back like 8 different horses. You know what I mean? And then I had to go back and do it again. Oh,
next thing we know, Dodd will have a market for us.
Normally it's just one horse and it's unload.
Yeah.
That's the way I like to bet, but I still enjoyed doing it. It was actually like really weird because like you're trying to be against these lightly raced ones down the bottom. Okay, and then you see, you actually do have some good stuff. Then I'm trying to be against Ayrton because I actually have similar figures that Dodd's got there, which means that it would have to do something more special. But, course and distance stats and early preparation stats and hype means you can't put a pen through it. You know what I mean? Like it's got a really good chance. So then I just went, I'm just going to go weird and find a couple of longies to back. So maybe I have gone mad, and maybe my secret is to only spend 5 minutes on a race. But for me, there's an easy bet, and that's number 2, Law of Indices.
Right, yeah, because Law of Indices, of course, finished alongside Ayrton in the Stradbroke, and Laws of Indices was put to the sword up on the speed. It returns here with blinkers on, and it is 5 times the price.
Mark, obviously, step in, son, and take all the glory. Mark, you know that I found this horse after its first run in the all-age stakes and just go, man, this horse has some quality. Okay, but then and then I dropped off pretty quickly, and luckily I did because it didn't really perform. But I'm actually loving. There's a couple of gear changes there, Mark, and that is blinkers first time and synthetic hoof willer off. 2 massive ticks for a horse that's gigantic odds and actually does have the figures to be competitive in this race. So Dodd won't say that because he won't give enough to the Rose Hill run there. But
no, that Rose Hill run's just it's half a length short on our stuff, and half a length short has won this race the last 2 years. So,
but Dodd, half a length short when it's 40-1.
Like, it's great. Our model has a $5, Gordo.
Let's just say that Dodd disagrees with the model.
I disagree with the model as well. I mean, that's a ridiculous price. But I told you, like, there's all these awesome horses here that I got so excited about. But at the end of the day, it was that open. I had to find some longies. And the other one was that I was going to back was number 5, I Am Superman. I kind of like that Mr. Brightside first up run there. I love mid-prep trials. Another little tick. And I'm liking being against sort of like, super on paces in this race, the way that the platform's looking. I don't mind barrier 19, particularly with what Dodd said about the pattern on the day. That's another horse of interest. And the other is, like, I'm totally disagreeing with Dodd here, and that is Showmanship's return to racing was absolutely sensational. Number 10. Showmanship.
It had everything against it first up.
Oh, man, if you don't have that in your black book, then you don't know how to watch videos. So I am going to, in a race where there's 10 chances, which normally means I'm not going to bet, I'm going to have small bets on Law of Indices, I Am Superman, and Showmanship.
I want to say a quick word for number 7, Graceful Girl, who's a Perth horse who's had 2 runs in Victoria so far this prep. They've both been in slow tempo races. That's not her goal. She wants high pressure. She finally gets high pressure. And the last time she got out to 1400, she did a career peak at that time in her career. So I think she's ready to perform third up on the quick backup. The only bad thing is she's drawn barrier 1.
Yeah, but she's got the magician on her.
Well,
Melbourne magician.
Don't worry about bad draws on horses outside the market. They either get luck or they don't. You really don't need to factor it in.
Yeah,
but he's just saying he would give it an extra push if it was drawn in the happy place.
I would actually give it an extra push for the barrier 1 because absolute suck run on a longie is actually more beneficial than being maybe in the right spot.
Well, you talk about longies here, but I mean when we talk about longies getting sucks, they're longies that lack the talent, but because they get the suck, they get up. This horse obviously has the talent.
And by the way, Mark, longie $21. For me, a longie's $5. So.
I know. Well, it is $7.50 bar 1, but okay. It sounds like we're leaving the first 3 in the market out, putting in 10 Showmanship, 16 Shallow. How do you say it, Dodd? Shallot. 5 I'm Superman, 7 Graceful Girl, and 2 Laws of Indices. I haven't put those numbers in a numerical order. But,
can I try get one more in?
Yeah.
If you're going to put I Am Superman in, I think you have to put Sinawan in because I think Sinawan ran it down at Caulfield when they both did their peak figures in their careers. Yeah. And Sinawan loves high pressure 1400 as well. All
right. Ben Melham to ride there. All right, so that let me try again. It reads 2 Law of Indices, 3 Sinawan, 5 I Am Superman, 7 Graceful Girl, 10 Showmanship, and 16 Shiloh.
And we're going for the fat result, eh?
The mare's race is the penultimate, and it's quite a tiny field
Mark,
in comparison.
You just missed it there because you were looking at your notes, but Dodd's got the big printout that shaky Owen first came on the show with.
What is it? The A5 dot matrix.
Yeah.
It's a fucking tapestry, Mark.
I did miss that. All right. So Chain of Lightning, who won course and distance 3 weeks back, is $3. Isotope, who started shorter than her on that occasion, is $5. Zapateo down from Sydney and back up in distance is $6. Written Beauty is $7. She's All Class, that followed Chain of Lightning home, is next best at $10. And it's a slow pace by the looks of it. I have some 50 to 1 shot crossing over to lead Rainbiel, leaving Zapateo and Lavish Girl sort of poking up along the inside, and maybe Chain of Lightning being forced into sort of coming across to race just off the leader. Dodd, how do you see the map?
The exact same. Rainbiel it is first up, so sometimes they choose not to go forward on these leaders, but it should lead because there's no speed here. Zapateo pings the lids pretty well, so he'll go forward from the wide barrier. And Lavish Girl led the jump out or the trial the other day and has natural early speed and won't give away the barrier. And it's a very slow race, I'd say.
All right. So how does that affect our favourite here, who we tend to love? I say there is a narrative for course and distance winning mares being very potent. How does that affect this particular mare, Chain of Lightning, who's unbeaten?
Just the same ride as the last I Wish I Win, isn't it? She just found cover, blended into the race beautifully, and she won well. But I mean, she does look big on
$6 at the in the Inverell debut, doesn't she, on New Year's Day? Anyway, I jest. All right, so you're saying that it's less comfortable for her here.
I just can't see Lightning striking twice. She was given a gun ride. She'll need another gun ride, and there's a couple of question marks here, and I would just happily bet around her at the prices.
All right, so betting around her involves backing other runners. Which are they?
Yeah, actually, maybe I misspoke. I just won't be betting in this race because I think Zapateo is a bit of a rat bag as well. Like, he goes forward, and I know he had the bias against the other day in the Eduardo race, but I feel like that run might have left a mark on him, might have left a mark on her, and I'm just not sure where she's at. So, yeah, and I couldn't really back anything first up. Written Beauty's trial was very nice the other day, but she over-raced throughout the trial, and I can see her doing that again here.
That's a habit of hers. Well, maybe we better go to Gord because he probably has some clarity. Where you've got your bookies hat firmly on there.
Yeah.
Clarity. I will be betting. If that's any clarity for anybody. I suppose my ultimate clarity is when I decide to bet, I suppose. So,
yep.
Look, I'm a believer in Chain of Lightning. Okay, like I thought there was a lot of style to that win, but then when I would just line it up the late stuff with Chain of Lighting and She's All Class, and She's All Class is a horse I had a massive opinion of
a long time ago,
and I had in the bin basket as in not being any good. So look, off style, Chain of Lightning, yeah, man. 5 starts, 5 wins. Dynamic. I know it got all PR job, but this is the thing you got to line up. There's PR when you're a completely and utter owning dominant winner. You got to sort of forgive that a little bit. You know what I mean?
I know, but I just can't. Isotope meets at 2 kilos better here and started shorter than in the lead up, and Isotope fucking completely busted. So I just I hate the form line.
Yeah, so what's our angle then? Because She's All Class is in the same race as well. Well, what do we do is we make the obvious bet.
Zapateo?
We just hope that form line's wrong.
Yeah.
Easy bet for me. Number 2, Zapateo. All forgiving last start, guys. Yet again, people down in Melbourne, they won't realise like the biasness of that track and the fact that this run had.
So we've told them all about it. Why are they?
Well, no, we haven't. This is a free show. This is a free show, Mark. So this isn't for the paid people.
But I mean, yeah, everyone's well aware of what went on at Randwick 2
No,
weeks
they're
ago.
not, Mark. They're not. People do not assess. You think it's automatic because you know it. People out there don't know it.
Right, so it's even better if it goes to a jurisdiction where they're not paying attention.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. It's just like, anyway, we're on a chat show, but it was like my wife was giving a presentation to 200 people about how they were supposed to do something, and she just talked far too fast. It's like, you know it really well, but you got to slow it down for them, babe. Okay, so anyway.
All right, so let's slow it down. Number 2, Zapateo is Gord's selection and my selection. Go on, Gord.
Cracking run first up, doesn't handle heavy tracks, so forgive on 2 factors, wrong part of the track, and 11 back to 1,000. That's not ideal. And then we think, oh, okay, maybe is this horse a 1,000-metre horse or a 1,100-metre horse? And then we look at its 2 runs over 1,200 metres. One was a second to Heresy, but that was on a heavy track. We can forgive that. The other 1,200-metre race was at the Valley, which doesn't suit this style of horse with the tight turning track, where it came second to a horse called Zuzarella, only got a gap late at Moonee Valley, which is a terrible scenario. You either want momentum up, slinging around the camber down the home turn, or be in front. So its 2 1,200-metre runs have super amounts of credit. It's just an auto, and we just hope that the lead-up's wrong.
Yeah. Well, the lead-up has problems because it's run in a very different tempo, and as Dodd pointed out, this horse, everything was working for this, obviously a horse that has contrived to have everything working for it in its career to date. So, this is the $64 million question. What are we doing with the favourite in the quaddie?
Oh, it's in for sure. 5 starts, 5 wing, dominant winner last start. Has to go in.
Okay.
Has to go in. I think we need to add Argentia in as well, though.
Yeah.
I think
Super
here, Argentia has to go in.
All right. Yeah. Okay. So 2 Zapateo, 3 Argentia, and 4 Chain of Lightning. The nightcap is 1,100-metre open and wide-ish looking betting. Rose Quartz $5, Cerades $6. It's Our Time $6. In the Boat $7.50. Prince of Boom, which I think you poured a lot of scorn upon, and successfully so last start, Dodd, is $8. Curran heads the others at $10. And we've got an above average looking tempo here with 2 to go well for. That's In the Boat and the Ruffy Sartorial Splendor. Fine Dane, Cerades, and 3 others just off the speed there. Rose Quartz, Holbein, and Prince of Boom. So, not willing, but certainly honest. Dodd, you can take us home here.
I'm saying willing. I'm saying this is a fast. Okay. Yeah, the Sartorial Splendor is lead at all costs type of horse. Doesn't run past other horses. Needs to lead. And Cerades wins all her races when she leads as well. I know she's first up here and she's 12 back to 11. But with Craig Williams booked, I'm assuming he's going to Shanghai her out as well. And then In the Boat also needs to be right there. I think this race comes down to whether it's a dry or a wet track, because this In the Boat, I think, is a really nice dry track horse and is a bit of a duffer on anything soft or worse. And he's definitely a chance in this race. Thought Ingratiating's trial the other day was okay, but I'm obviously
Blinker's going on here first up.
Yeah, and pace to... I'm not sure about that 3-year-old form, but I think I'm just going to leave it alone. Prince of Boom against... The one I found in this race, and it's just a spec, really, is Amish Boy, because this horse has always had a bit of ability, always ran in the A-grade stuff, and it's been gelded. They've put Jamie on. The cross nosebands come off, so any issues, manners issues that it had, they've obviously fixed with the gelding, and it looks like it's time to play.
It's had a decent holiday.
Yeah, it's had a bit of time off, but you just trust the camp there, and it's going to have a genuine tempo to aim at, and that's what this horse wants.
All right. Dodd's spoken. Gordo, have you got something to add to this? Because it doesn't look an easy race.
It's an open race. I would back a Wednesday Sydney Metropolitan grade horse in this race. These are rubbish. So I just have to unload, obviously.
We'll speak.
Number 2, Ingratiating. Shit. Yet again, I'm scared like Dodd. Dodd, you mentioned In the Boat, like being better on top of the ground. I think Ingratiating is exactly the same thing as well. Look, man, the trial was sensational. It trialled against absolute A-graded. That trial was 2 seconds faster than any other trial on the day. By the way, President won by 13 lengths there.
I know. It's changed trainer. It's got the Bjorn treatment. I even watched that trial. I know what's going on there.
Mark, I cannot wait for President to lead Crosstalk on Saturday in Sydney. And by the way, Crosstalk will bust up and President will win.
Crosstalk will probably be running at Newcastle tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, that's even better because then President's going to lead on its ear market to dead set Monty on Saturday. Jeez.
Surely you boys are tipping rocketing by here with the showmanship form, no?
Nothing wrong with rocketing by, although he's another dual acceptor. But it's interesting that Ingratiating's been left entire, so obviously clearly they are still on the hunt with this horse, thinking that he's got a lazy, weird jonker Group 1 placing there to his resume, but they must be sniffing something. It does look like one of those Caulfield 1100 sort of Oakley Plate style, even though this is a lower grade, but Oakley Plate style ambush type setups for this horse.
Look, there's more stuff about this horse. I'm obsessed with Blue Fresh, guys, as everybody knows, particularly when they've trialled the way I like them to trial. Okay, this horse is ticking both those boxes. It ran over 1,100 metres at Caulfield on the 14th of the 8th, 2021, and absolutely owned two horses called General Bow and Generation. Now, there's some serious Mexican horses there, and it dead set owned them over the 1,100 metre course and distance, but it was on a good track. If this was a good track, I would have this thing 3-1 favourite. And it's $14 right now, guys. So this is one of those ones where I'm really waiting for the weather. Blinkers. Jesus, there's so much intent here. Zara going on. Not being gelded, Mark. There is so much intent. If you notice, guys, when you watch the
trial... That's right. We can argue whatever we like. Oh, it's not gelded. There's intent. Oh, it's gelded. There's intent. It's a beauty.
No, but you got to line it up with other information.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. We say these one variables, and it's got to be linked to other variables. Now, for me, you watch that trial with President. It wasn't like it came second in that trial, 13 lengths. People might mark it down for that. Have a look at the horses that were behind it. There were some serious horses.
It was a very fat race in the race behind President.
Saying that, I'm 2 ingratiating from 1 in the boat, and if it ends up being wet, then we've got to throw shitloads more in, but it's Thursday, so I'll leave it.
Well, it's going to be one of those. I'm saying the track probably be a 6, after everything. No worse. It might be slightly better, but you could work on that. So what... the quaddie this quaddie leg looks a bit tricky.
Yeah, I'm happy to leave out the 12 Rose Quartz. I think it's favourite at the moment at like 480 or something, just because it's got straight Flemington form and it's first up Mick D. It's a high pressure race, and this is like a go forward horse, and it's 12 back to 11. I just think it might just need the run.
Or, not be comfortable here.
I just don't think it's
Graham specialises in these sort of horses, doesn't he? These sort of fancy, flashy sort of horses that have lovely looking records. But, of course, this looks a pressure test for it. So, fair enough. Well, let's leave it out. Sorry, Dodd, you did say something about Sarah Dess earlier about it being a bit of a bunny horse. So, it's to be opposed as it's coming off 3 straight runs.
Yeah, I don't like the bunny horses first up. I always think they need a run under the belt.
Well, they just get put to the sword. It's a very stressful situation for them. It's Our Time is hard in the betting, number 9. It is also fresh, but obviously an off pacer. It's
got that massive Caulfield 1,100 metre figure, but that was a long time ago.
What? No, it was 200 days ago.
A lot of runs ago.
I have wet question mark, so I'm querying it in the wet off its form, but I'm not sure how I've come to that conclusion. Let me have a look.
No, well, we don't have. It's never really run on wet.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it started on a soft track at Caulfield 1100, ran 4.
I think it'll have to go. And Prince of Boom still living off his Gold Coast and Sunshine Coast stuff, so he gets the boot.
He didn't show a yard of early speed the other day. I think he could be gone.
I think he could be gone, but if he gets back to that, and let's face it, the Queensland sprinters have been owning these Mexicans lately.
Yeah, but not off Mexican runs.
I'm binning it, Mark, but
yeah, all right.
Just an observation.
So for the record here, it's 1 in the boat, down to 2 ingratiating. That wasn't very far. 5 Amish Boy. and 9, It's Our Time for the quaddie. Should we throw in 6, Rocketing by Gord?
No.
All right. So that's a pretty decent look at Caulfield. Does anyone want to nominate any horses of particular interest?
Shalo.
All right. So Dodd's picked the hardest race of the day, and he's just gone straight in. That's
I
Shalo.
No. Well, this is what I say. I think that's a coward call, Mark.
Why?
I told this when somebody goes to the hardest one and tips a long shot. I think that's cowardice.
I know, and when it runs 50, you go, like, everyone goes, wow, he really, he did well. Well, that's the commentator's call, Gord.
Coward me up, boys.
Yeah.
Craven O'Driscoll.
More the place.
Yeah, there we go. Me, well, wow, Mark, 2,000 metres. This is just a great betting race, guys. You unload on Gold Trip, and you have this is not a unit staking, this is a proportion staking or percentage staking. You have 1 by 5 on Crystal Pegasus, and you guess what, you'll double collect because you get the winner and you'll get the place.
Sounds good.
Lovely situation.
All right, I'm backing 2 horses at Caulfield on Saturday. That's race 2, number 8 Kin, and race 7, the hardest race of the day, number 10 Showmanship. That is our Caulfield preview.
Goward!
Even billion. Showmanship, Shalo. You're on, Marky.
I know, and I have to accept the bet, and you've got me because I'm on the short price
horse. Hold on, you got to shake, guys, or it's not a real bet.
I'm on the roughy. That's all that matters.
Yeah. Oh, GP. Hello.
All right, so look out, members, look out for our Randwick preview tomorrow. We won't have a Melbourne preview next week because it's grand final weekend anyway, so I imagine it's a shitty Sandown meeting, and we'll be in Lismore. So look out for our Melbourne preview on this channel.
And by the way, everybody up there, if you've got a Top Sport account, we'll be running a betting club up at Lismore, and Mark and I have lots of good information and a very good idea of track pattern there, don't we, Mark?
Indeed, although it may have changed this year with the movement of the rail and the sowing of the ryegrass. But meanwhile, we've got lots of intel from around the country to help us out on that particular Thursday. So that Punters Club has opened. You look out for the email. I'll send out a text to members, to everyone as well tomorrow, to tell you, to lead you to buying shares in our Punters Club for Lismore Cup, which is next Thursday. It is, of course, the place where we happened upon 2 lazy Irishmen some 5 years ago, Gord.
Owen and John, these little, shy little boys, Mark, that came up to us. Hello, can I say hello? Yeah, of course you fucking can. You want a beer?
They wanted your autograph,
anyway,
Gord.
6 hours later, we were out on the cans betting on dog racing. How good's that?
It's a hell of a night. Hell of a night.
Anyway.
Beats the Coffs trip when I talked Mark out of the $17 winner in the fucking...
All right, yes. That horse's name was Glittra.
The grey up, mate.
Not a problem.
Just quickly, Dodds Mounting Yard mail from Melbourne. That'll be true on Saturday afternoon from about 1 o'clock.
In the chat room.
Guys, sign up, get in the chat room. Dodds doing Mounting Yard mail. That'll be brilliant, mate.
I put my hand up for the premium team at Sportsbet as well for Everest Day, so I might be on track Everest Day, so I'll give you a shout if I'm up in Sydney then.
Sounds good. All right, thanks for coming on again, Dave. That's 2 meetings in 3 out of 3, 2 meetings in 2 weeks. So thanks very much for your help today, and we'll get amongst it.
What do you mean? We've given him plenty of help, Mark.
Exactly.
You know
bit of clarity.
Yeah.
Gord clarity. You need to bottle that and sell it.
Yeah.